Browns are just days away from adding new talent in the 2026 NFL Draft, but before that, we got our first look at the team as it stands in action.
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, getting on the grass, really cool. You get the extra week.
The Browns holding a voluntary mini camp courtesy of having new head coach Todd Monken at the reins. In this mini camp, the Browns able to run.
What is good, everybody? It is your boy, Dre Fiverr, coming at you live right here from the Overtime Report studio. And today we are stepping off the hardwood and onto the absolute toxic wasteland that is the Cleveland Browns gridiron. Grab your popcorn, lock the doors, and turn your volume all the way up, because the drama unfolding in Berea right now is the kind of premium, unscripted reality television that Hollywood writers could only dream of scripting. We are talking about bruised egos, questionable coaching decisions, massive guaranteed contracts, and a quarterback room that is currently operating like a ticking time bomb, just waiting to detonate the entire 2026 season. If you thought the factory of sadness had closed its doors, I am here to tell you that under new head coach Todd Monken, business is booming, and the main product coming off the assembly line is pure, unadulterated disrespect. Today, we are diving deep into the Dillon Gabriel situation. This man is pissed, he is furious, he is standing at a press conference podium giving the media the most polite, completely passive-aggressive answers you will ever hear in your entire life. You do not have to be a body language expert to see that Gabriel is silently screaming on the inside after being benched for Shedeur Sanders. We have all the tape, we have all the quotes, and I am going to break down every single micro-expression, every single loaded phrase, and every single piece of evidence that proves Todd Monken has walked into the Cleveland Browns building and completely rigged the system to favor Primetime's favorite son. Let me take you back, because we need context to truly understand the sheer level of disrespect happening right now. Last year, the Cleveland Browns had one of the most chaotic rookie situations in recent NFL history. You had Dillon Gabriel, an absolute warrior, out there putting his physical well-being on the line for the franchise. This is a guy who fought tooth and nail, secured the starting job, and was actually trying to build something meaningful. And what happened? He suffered a brutal concussion. He put his brain on the line for the Browns, and the moment he was medically sidelined, the organization essentially changed the locks on the facility doors.
Gabriel slides in, took a hit. He got rocked, flag on the field.
And handed the keys to Shedeur Sanders. They didn't just replace him, they erased him. And now, walking into the 2026 voluntary minicamps, Gabriel is being forced to sit at the podium and answer questions about how it feels to have his career hijacked. When a reporter flat out asked Gabriel if it was difficult to lose the starting job because of a concussion, his response was the definition of biting your tongue until it bleeds. He said, and I quote, "Yeah, I don't think it's ever easy as a competitor, right? But you just want to keep staying the course, trusting God's plan, and then ultimately you got to run your own race." Let us pause and really dissect that. Now, it is time for Dre's personal opinion. Anytime an athlete looks a reporter dead in the eye and starts talking about running their own race and trusting God's plan, what they are really saying is the people in charge of this team are completely incompetent. The politics in this building are toxic, and I have absolutely zero control over this nightmare, so I am just going to pray that the universe sorts it out. Gabriel knows he was robbed. He knows he did not lose his job because he was outplayed. He lost his job because he got hurt, and the franchise saw an opportunity to pivot to the shiny brand name prospect with the massive social media following. Let me give you some concrete numbers about this quarterback group, because the statistics paint an incredibly vivid picture of the double standard currently operating in Cleveland. Shedeur Sanders, an African-American quarterback with an undeniable college pedigree and the weight of the Deion Sanders legacy on his shoulders, finished his 2025 rookie season completing exactly 56.6% of his passes. As reported by multiple outlets, he threw for a highly questionable 1,400 yards, a laughable 7 touchdowns, and a completely unacceptable 10 interceptions, resulting in a microscopic passer rating of 68.1. That is a 3-4 record where the offense looked anemic, confused, and routinely outmatched. And then you have Dillon Gabriel, a Hawaiian-born quarterback representing the AAPI community on the biggest stage, a kid of Filipino descent who grinded his way into the starting role only to lose it strictly because of a traumatic brain injury. And yet, entering 2026 under the new regime of Todd Monken, it is Gabriel who is being treated like the afterthought. It is Gabriel who is taking the backup reps. It is Gabriel who is forced to answer humiliating questions about his emotional state while Shedeur is walking around the facility taking all the first-team snaps. This brings us to the Todd Monken factor, which is perhaps the most infuriating piece of this entire puzzle. The Browns fired Kevin Stefanski, cleaned house, and brought in Monken to completely revamp the culture. And what is the first thing Monken does? He immediately starts coddling Shedeur Sanders. According to local insiders, Monken has been talking about giving Shedeur a new vibe and a runway to claim the starting job. Sanders himself even admitted to the media that Coach Monken pulled him aside and spoke life into him. Are you kidding me? Where is the life being spoken into Dillon Gabriel? Where is the runway for the guy who literally bled for this team last year? Gabriel was asked directly about Monken's new offense, and you could hear the complete lack of enthusiasm in his voice. He gave generic media-trained answers about how Monken has been efficient at all his stops and how there will naturally be similarities in concepts. Gabriel is no fool. He understands exactly what is happening here. He sees that Monken is actively redesigning the entire offensive scheme to mask Shedeur's flaws and highlight his strengths, completely leaving Gabriel out in the cold. Gabriel knows that no matter how hard he works, no matter how much of a pro he is, and remember, Monken actually praised Gabriel's professionalism to the media, which is the ultimate backhanded compliment a coach gives to a guy he has zero intention of starting. The fix is in. The deck is stacked. And we cannot talk about this absolutely dysfunctional quarterback room without talking about the $230 million elephant sitting right in the middle of it. Deshaun Watson. Yes, people, Deshaun Watson is still on this roster, looming like a financial ghost haunting the salary cap. Gabriel was asked about his relationship with Deshaun, and he gave the standard response about how Deshaun is a great dude and a great person to learn from. Let us be brutally honest for a second, and here is Dre's personal opinion again. What exactly is Dillon Gabriel learning from Deshaun Watson at this point? How to finesse an organization out of guaranteed money while standing on the sidelines in sweatpants. How to completely alienate a fan base. The fact that the Browns are paying Watson a king's ransom while simultaneously force-feeding the offense to Shedeur Sanders, all while Dillon Gabriel is left to rot on the depth chart, is gross malpractice. Gabriel even dropped a quote about how in the offseason you kind of just do your thing. He is completely disconnected from Watson and Sanders. He knows this is not a brotherhood. This is a snake pit. The media kept prodding Gabriel, trying to get him to crack. They asked him if he enters this quarterback competition on even footing with the other guys, specifically mentioning the noise surrounding Shedeur and Deshaun. Gabriel's response was chilling in his dismissal. He said, "I think I'm just running my own race, and focus on what I can control, and that's mastering my reps and doing it at a high level." He did not say he was going to beat out Shedeur. He did not mention Deshaun. He essentially said, "I am going to clock in, do my job, and ignore the absolute circus happening in the locker room next to me." That is not the sound of a quarterback who believes there is a legitimate competition. That is the sound of a man who knows the front office has already made their decision and he is just waiting for the inevitable trade demand or release. And let us talk about the front office for a second, because the 2026 NFL draft is looming and General Manager Andrew Berry is doing everything in his power to ensure Shedeur Sanders is the golden child. The Browns hold the number 6 and number 24 overall picks, according to top NFL analysts. Cleveland is heavily targeting elite wide receivers and offensive linemen. We are hearing names like Makai Lemon, Connell Tate, and Jordan Tyson. They are preparing to draft pure weaponry. Why? To protect the investment they are making in Shedeur Sanders. They want to surround him with so much talent that he literally cannot fail, completely ignoring the fact that Dillon Gabriel proved he could command an offense before his brain was scrambled into a concussion. If the Browns use those 2 first-round picks on the left tackle and the superstar receiver, that is the final nail in the roster. That is the organization screaming from the rooftops that the Shedeur Sanders era has officially begun, and everyone else is just collateral damage. Because the drama does not stop at Dillon Gabriel. If you read to the end of that press conference transcript, things take a wildly bizarre turn that exposes the complete lack of respect head coach Todd Monken currently commands in that locker room. The media abruptly shifted their questioning away from Gabriel and directed it at Monken himself, specifically asking about star defensive end Myles Garrett. For those who are not keeping up with the day-to-day chaos, Myles Garrett, the face of the franchise, the best player on the team, decided not to show up for the start of Todd Monken's voluntary minicamp. And how did Monken address this? Did he project strength? Did he brush it off like a seasoned leader? Absolutely not. Monken got incredibly defensive and weirdly specific. The media asked him about the nature of his text messages with Garrett, and Monken defensively stammered. It hasn't been a lot. It's fine. This is voluntary. We're making a big deal out of this. We really are. It's voluntary. Listen to me, and I mean really listen to me. When a head coach has to stand at a podium in his first offseason with a team and explicitly tell the media, we're making a big deal out of this, it means it is a massive, uncontrollable deal. Monken then went on to admit that guys like Denzel Ward and Jerry Jeudy were also missing and that they informed the team they wouldn't be there. But then Monken slipped up. He let his ego talk. He literally said, every one of them has communicated, okay? Doesn't mean I like the communication, but it's voluntary. Dre's personal opinion alert, Todd Monken is completely losing the locker room before the pads even come on. He is standing up there admitting he doesn't like the text messages he is getting from his star players. He is admitting that Myles Garrett is barely talking to him. So let us connect the dots here. You have a head coach who the veteran defensive stars do not respect enough to show up for. You have a massive, unmovable contract in Deshaun Watson sitting on the books. You have an underperforming, highly hyped sophomore quarterback in Shedeur Sanders being handed the keys to the kingdom despite a horrific 7-1-0 touchdown to interception ratio. And you have Dillon Gabriel, the hardworking, silent professional who lost his job strictly due to medical trauma, sitting at the podium, gritting his teeth and talking about his off-season in Hawaii because the reality of his situation in Cleveland is too toxic to actually address out loud. When Gabriel was asked what his thoughts were on Hawaii during the off-season, he gave the most legendary, cryptic quote of the entire presser. He simply said, I was places. I was places. That is the quote of the year. That is a man who completely disconnected from the grid. He turned his phone off, walked into the ocean and tried to spiritually cleanse himself from the stench of the Cleveland Browns organization. He did not want to think about Todd Monken. He did not want to think about Shedeur Sanders stealing his job. He did not want to think about the concussion that derailed his momentum. He was places. And frankly, who can blame him? If I had to share a quarterback room with this level of dysfunction, favoritism, and absolute circus level media scrutiny, I would be booking a one-way ticket to a deserted island too. The reality is that Dillon Gabriel deserves better. He deserves an organization that evaluates talent based on merit, not on who brings in the most jersey sales, not on who has the flashiest last name, and certainly not on who the new head coach wants to artificially inflate to make his new offensive scheme look good. Gabriel is trapped in a political nightmare. He is doing the right things. He is taking notes. He is talking about the marathon, not a sprint. He is talking about constant improvement. But all the improvement in the world is not going to matter if Todd Monken has already decided that Shedeur Sanders is the guy. The Cleveland Browns are actively sabotaging their own locker room culture, and we are watching it happen in real time. They are alienated their veteran stars, they are disrespecting their hardest workers, and they are putting all their chips on a quarterback who looked completely lost for the majority of his rookie season. If this is the new vibe that Todd Monken is bringing to Berea, then Browns fans better buckle up because the 2026 season is going to be an absolute train wreck of epic proportions. That is going to do it for today's deep dive into the absolute mess happening in Cleveland. If you made it this far, you already know what to do. You need to smash that like button right now to support the channel. I want you to jump down into the comment section and give me your raw, unfiltered thoughts on this drama. Did Dillon Gabriel get completely robbed of his starting job? Is Todd Monken making a massive mistake by handing the keys to Shedeur Sanders? And what on earth is going on between Monken and Myles Garrett? Let me know down below. And if you have not already, you absolutely need to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. You need to subscribe to Dre Fiverr because we are bringing you the hardest hitting, no filter NFL news on the entire internet every single day. We do not hold back, we do not sugarcoat, and we always bring the receipts. Until next time, this is Dre Fiverr from Dre Hoops signing off. Peace.